and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, my homie, Jesse. What's poppin', baby? How you feeling today?
I am great. I'm all energized, yeah.
All right.
Actually made me a juice this morning.
What kind of juice?
Green.
Oh, so it's Power Greens.
Power greens, baby.
Did you throw some kale in there? Some what else you got in there? Some celery. What do you got? What do you got in there?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I didn't throw anything in there.
Oh, you didn't make this yourself?
And let's
I am
also
not
You were
the,
not there juicing?
I'm not the household motivated human
All right.
on that front.
You're not?
Fortunately, Ashley's a much better human being than I am.
So she made it for you.
Yeah. But
Gotcha.
to
Collard
be determined
greens?
on the ingredients.
Hmm?
To be determined on the ingredients.
He has no idea what the fuck was in there,
Yeah.
basically.
Give me the recipe.
Babe, can I have a smoothie? So we had a fun weekend this weekend. The
Yeah.
main events, down to 9 players. Pretty poppin', man. How did it feel when you were coming down for like the last 200 to 9? What was your emotions in it? Like, what was your...
Me? I was freaking
Well,
out.
nobody else has fucking got to 9th, all right?
Yeah, well, you want to tell me about my experience of making
No.
the final table of the main event?
What was it like for you?
Well, first of all, I was in a deep sleep because I was dreaming.
The tortoise in the main. No, seriously, what was your feelings like coming down to the final 9?
I was freaking out a little bit because, like, not outwardly, but like emotionally. I think the dream that I always had. People have different types of goals and dreams in poker, but mine was always to make the final table, which is kind of a ridiculous dream to have because you can easily go a lifetime without doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
But the reason I wanted to make the final table so much was because of the November 9 and the fact that I could bring out hundreds of people from home, because where I'm from is a very tight-knit community and everyone knows each other and we all care about each other. So
Is that what happens on Martha's Vineyard?
yeah. Yeah. A lot of beach fires and recreational activities.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were nervous, you say. How do you minefield those, like, get around those nerves coming down to the final 9? I'd be scared. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel
don't
like
know.
I'd be fucking losing my goddamn mind.
I was off to the side stretching a lot. I did some push-ups, I remember, at one point to like try to get rid of anxiety. Mm-hmm. Whenever I was not on the feature, I got massages.
Okay.
You didn't want to do it on the feature on TV?
They weren't allowed to.
Yeah, I think back then we weren't allowed to.
Now well, I'm not sure if
You
you're...
might still not be allowed. I don't
Blaze got
remember
like
anybody.
a 2-hour massage the other day.
Oh, he did?
I'm pretty sure it was
On the
Blaze.
feature?
Yeah. I'm not sure
Sounds
if it was...
about right.
Was it Blaze? I'm pretty sure it was.
It was probably Blez.
It was probably Blaze.
That
It's
tracks.
probably not allowed
That
either.
tracks, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, there's like headphones on the table now. And I don't think you were allowed to have headphones on the feature
There
table.
used
a
to
while
be
ago.
Interesting.
there used to be a rule was once you were in the money, you couldn't have headphones on. Remember
What?
that rule? Yeah, once you hit the
Oh,
money,
yeah.
you could not have headphones on
Just
anymore.
in the main event.
No.
In
In
any
all,
event.
I'm pretty sure it was all WSOP tournaments.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird rule.
I forgot.
Like,
There was some weird rules. There was a F-bomb rule at one point.
yeah.
Remember, like if you said the F word, you literally got like a 1-round penalty.
unless you were named Phil Hellmuth.
Unless your name Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah.
They used to have like an all-in button where you just toss the button in and then you're all in. And people got like they got rid of that really quickly because people were making so many mistakes. Like literally, you had a button that just said all in on it. If you wanted to go all in, you just tossed that button in the middle.
There was a guy who was,
Yeah.
I remember reading about a guy who was angle shooting with the button where he'd like take it and spin it and like kind of like
Right.
not quite officially put it in. But
It
make
literally
look like,
opened up angles,
Yeah.
mistakes. They realized very quickly that was a bad move, and they got rid of it. I think it lasted it 1 year maybe. But yeah,
That's pretty wild. The headphones rule. I never heard that, and I don't like that.
I'm not really sure what the purpose of it was.
I assume they got rid of the F-bomb thing.
Yeah, but
no, I get in trouble all the time.
They got rid of it, but they say that you need to be respectful at the table, and like vulgar language, like especially towards another player, is obviously going to be
but
like
just being
penalized.
Is another thing.
But
I mean, I just can't imagine.
But like if you're sitting at the table and you're just like, fuck, I don't know what to do here, like, and then you're like 1 round penalty, you're like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
so
you're a grown man. You just paid $10,000 to get into a tournament, and now someone's going to penalize me who just paid $10K because I wanted to say the word fuck.
Yeah,
like, that seems kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not excessive and you're not using it toward anybody, nobody really cares. Like, I mean, excessive. It's kind of hard from like when you're from New York. You just kind of drop the F-bomb a lot, and it's just like, in sentences. And you don't even notice it sometimes. So a lot of people just like, hey, relax.
Like, hey, this fucking guy over here.
Relax,
hey.
relax.
I'll never forget. This is like so many years ago when I first moved to Vegas, but some guy's just swearing his head off at our cash game. And D-Moon's at the table, and this older gentleman goes, hey, there's a lady present. And D-Moon took like 12 seconds where she was like, what the fuck? Like, are you talking about me? like, you think I care about swearing?
That sounds exactly how she would react.
It was so good.
That's actually pretty fucking good.
Speaking of D-Moon, she had a nice little run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Top 100, I think.
Yeah. Really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Actually, shit, the people that were in the top 100 is pretty nuts if you think about it. You have Mateos, Lannis, Steven Song, Danny Tang, Tony Dunst, Ryan Rast. Like the top 100 was pretty sick.
Yeah. I'm
not sure we've seen a sicker top 100 in the past few years.
No, I doubt it because you have Lena, who's at the final table, who's like the online GOAT.
Yep.
Yeah, this is news to me. I just found this. What's his online winnings?
Lena 9,000. He's probably like has, I don't know, 70 million in winnings.
Yeah, I mean, I think he
It's
surpassed
something
Mormon,
stupid.
which is insane because that's just like kind of a volume game at that point
Yeah.
and a skill game, but you have to have the volume.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
But then he also just plays the biggest MTTs, and from what I understand, is one of the best, if not the best, in those. So it's pretty. And then you have Mateos, who's like arguably the live
GOAT.
no limit MTT GOAT. Yeah.
Aside from Chidwick, of course.
So Lena's career earnings online is 48 million apparently.
Wow.
That's pretty fucking sick. Yeah.
At what average buy-in? $200 or something.
Yeah, no, right.
You're probably right.
That's the thing. It's like he's
it's
not
all
he's not
online.
out there playing like 100Ks online. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just like to get to that level, you got to be, like you said, you got to be good and you got to put in the volume. As he said, grinding 40 hours a week, or what did he say in that?
Oh God, that was
thing?
so fucking
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
He's like
23 hours a day.
They were like, hey,
40 days straight.
I think they asked him if like if he was tired, if this
Yeah.
like was weighing on him or whatnot, and he just responded, "I play 23 hours a day, or 23 tables a day,
Yeah.
for 40 days straight in
Right.
scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a cakewalk.
Yeah, this is nothing. Like,
You love to hear stuff like that. Too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
right. It's
What a
funny
fucking
because like,
grind.
these guys, that's what they do. Like, especially like the volume guys, right? They're putting in like, they're playing multiple tables at like, for hours on end. So being at one table, he's probably bored.
Yeah. The thing is there's a couple things going on with that though. One, when you play online, like it's a different kind of stress, but you don't have to sit there and worry about how you appear in your live tells for 10 hours,
Yeah.
12 hours, which can be really stressful
For sure.
in its own way.
For sure.
And then also, I do think that there's a added level of stress when all you're playing for 10 days is one tournament and all of your eggs are in that basket. And it's a way bigger basket, obviously, because you
right.
win 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
When you play scoops, you're just bricking tournaments. Okay, let's load up the next one. There's
Yeah.
not that much pressure. So I think it's more the stress and anxiety that really like makes you very tired. And then the lack of sleep due to that,
Yeah.
and the adrenaline.
I
rush
guess
and stuff
either
like
way, you're just going hours on end with like you're thinking and you're using all your brain power for so long. So it's probably similar in that way.
Yeah.
Because no
not
matter
to
what,
mention,
you're just
not to cut
drained.
you off, Jess, but not to mention the heat. I assume it's very warm on that stage. I saw somebody yesterday putting an ice pack.
it's,
on his
C-Rock was,
chest or
yeah.
his head or something.
Yeah, he had an ice pack.
it gets hot up there,
putting
man.
it on his face.
It gets so hot up there. The lights are crazy.
Bro, shout out to C-Rock's tank top. I can't say enough good stuff about that tank top.
Sun's out, guns
So
out.
what is it?
It's like 5 or 6 prints of Yannick Sinner.
Who's Yannick Sinner?
He's the #1 tennis player right now.
Oh, okay.
And he's like very tall, lanky, very pale, redheaded guy.
Okay.
Like if you saw him in a crowd, you would not think he was an athlete, and he's just absolute peak performance.
Gotcha.
And it's just, I don't know, for me, seeing specifically that guy all over tank top.
Just
and
picture
in a way,
John Turner. Shout out Pearl Jam.
That's so good.
and it's like printed in a way you can't even tell it's him. It just looks like this like hippie tank top.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just when I realized what it was, I kind of lost it a little bit.
Nice. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Joe now. I mean, I was already rooting a bit for Joe, but
Who would you like to see win this?
it's tough because it would be cool if Lena won it and
would
just
be-
sort of secured himself as one of the greatest ever.
I mean, I think he's already done that.
Yeah,
but...
that's but I think maybe other people might be better for poker. I'm not really sure if
Okay.
they want it.
Yeah.
I'm really kind of rooting for this dude from Sudsbury. I don't know him at all, but I'm a huge fan of the show Shoresy, which is about a little hockey team in Sudsbury, Ontario. And so I'm like a huge fan of this guy from Sudsbury.
And he's the oldest, I'm sure, at the table. I think he's 48.
Yeah, I think so,
he's
yeah.
48.
Which is
and-
also good for poker, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
But he's been playing professionally for a while, and I think he has a decent amount of cashes.
Really?
So, yeah. So
Nice.
he knows what he's doing. Yeah, I'd like to see him just because I'm always rooting for the older guys.
That's the
The
torch.
guys in their 40s, let's go. We can still do it.
Connie, do we have final table chip counts?
No.
Just wondering who's coming in with the chip lead.
Yeah, you can just pull up the
just look it up.
just look up the chip counts on WSP.com.
I mean, we saw some crazy shit yesterday. To end the night, so Tamayo.
Tomato.
So Tamayo. Find a muck with the queen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy you're here today. I really do want to hear your thoughts on this one. It was interesting. Sirac opens, I think it was under the gun. Tamayo's in middle position with queens. And he just finds a muck.
What's the problem?
He was actually
Layup fold.
fairly early position because I was first told this hand and was told he was cut off, and
No, he was
Sirac
before
opened
that.
and was the chip leader. I was like, that's an insane fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like under the gun 7-handed.
Yeah.
Or would be under the gun if they were 7-handed. And Sirac opened under the gun 9-handed, so it's a
Mhm.
little different. Joe's going to be quite wide as the chip leader, but there's not such a huge discrepancy in stacks that he should just be opening ridiculously wide.
Yeah, he doesn't have the freedom to do that yet.
Yeah, and he's under the gun 9-handed, right? Like they were 10-handed. There's one player before him,
Right.
and you have to be tight under the gun 9-handed,
Mm-hmm.
reasonably tight. You can't get super out of line because it's like, okay, so like the advantage of chip lead is that you can open really wide and people have to play a really tight range of hands. But when there's 8 players behind you, they're already playing a really tight range of hands, and they don't have to play that many hands for one of the 8 to find one of them. So it's not particularly exciting to open super light there. Anyways, Joe opened really light because he had ace-6
Ace-6 off, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Tamayo's earlier position, so it's like a little bit closer. My initial reaction was it was just a jam, or like, it's a VPIP at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somebody ran it in some group chat and said that it was like VPIPing the hand made like $110,000 or something like that.
That's wrong.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's like obviously a ton of money and a bunch of buy-ins, but I think compared to the prize pool, it's probably not, the remaining prize pool, it's probably not super, super large, but it's probably a decent sized mistake. Also, the solver didn't have Joe Sirac opening ace-6 off, like that's too loose, so it makes the queen's VPIP even better.
So it'd make even more money.
Yeah.
But, you never really know in the moment. I thought watching it, I was like, ooh, I think it's a jam, but at worst, I'm calling.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not feeling fucking great, but I'm not folding.
People thought it was a graphics error for a second. He's like, nope, I folded those queens.
That was really funny. I think, who was it? Oh, I think it was Chance.
Chance
Chance is like,
said something, yeah.
obviously it was a graphic error. 1 minute later, no, I folded queens.
yeah. It's like, okay.
It's like, yeah.
Or not.
It was pretty great. I don't know. I think it was sick. Honestly, just to like find the fold so quick, not even really think about it. It's like
I think that's the most shocking part is that he didn't think about it. He literally just was like, Queen's not that. It's not aces. I fold.
I thought he already thought about it.
Saw looked down immediately. And
No. Just like previously, he had a game plan. Like
predetermined.
He finds himself in a situation. It's like under the gun open. I have queen. Fuck this shit. Yeah. There's two people shorter than me.
This guy's got 5 big blinds. There's a 200k pay jump.
So what do you do with kings then?
I mean,
Kings just has
same thing I do with queens.
Is the line really that defined just between queens and kings?
There's a big difference between kings and queens.
Yeah, kings are making way more.
Way more money, right? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just the fact that like somebody, just because you have queens and someone has ace king, it's a huge difference between when you have kings and then they just don't.
Well, that part
kings can actually get called by worse.
Right.
Queens, it's kind of up in the air if they actually call jacks, like given the situation.
Right.
But with kings, you can get called by queens. You're also not, when they call with ace king, you're not like flipping, which is a big deal.
That's what I mean. There's 16 combos that flip with you, whereas with kings, only 6 combos beat you. Everything else, you're crushing. So
yeah, and they have way less. They have 8 combos now of ace king when you have.
Oh right,
so that's
sorry. Yeah, you're right.
No, you were saying 6 combos beat you. You were right. The
aces. The ace. Yeah. No, but right.
But you made me think.
I said
about
16 combos. Right, 8 combos of ace king.
Well, no, you were right.
Yeah,
you were right because you said 16 combos flip
for queens. Right. Yeah.
Guys, we've talked about doing math on air.
I know. Especially combinatorics on air. Jesus, what are we doing here?
I will give him this. There is a very unquantifiable amount of EV in terms of folding and your opponent's making ICM mistakes themselves in other hands.
Right.
And it's really hard to calculate that because we don't really, we're not really good at eternalizing like how much of that's baked into these ICM solves in the first place.
Yep.
And so it's hard to say like, oh, if people make like X mistake, then it's this much more. But it could be a lot. It did seem like everyone at that FT was playing reasonably tight and correct-ish, but I don't know. I mean, never underestimate the value of somebody just randomly torching it. Like
we were talking in our group chat, and like obviously I'm going to play the tortoise roll, right? And I'm just like, what? That's not that bad of a fold. Like, and then Landon's like head blows off, and he's just like, it's that bad. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad.
Everybody's head blown off.
And I mean, I was literally, I was like, and then Berkey's like losing his mind, and I'm like trolling a little bit. So now I'm just like, ramping it up a little bit more. But like, it is true that it's like I mean, like, there's a little part of me that's just like, okay, yes, I know it's bad, but like, maybe it's not as bad as you guys think in the exact moment because of situations like you said, like people behind you just like making massive mistakes, and now the fold is just goes up in value.
How many people?
It's still
how many
a
people
bad
were
fold
left at this point?
What was that?
How many people were left at this point when I made this?
10.
10. I think that has a factor too. Like honestly, I
making
think
the final table, people was like like you said, my dream is to make the final table, and that emotional aspect of it is built into obviously his fold.
Yeah, and also like I don't know Tamayo that well. I don't know his finances. I know he's been in the poker world for a long time. He's had a good amount of success in tournaments and stuff. He's done well, I think, in DFS. Like he might have a bunch of money, and he prioritizes like literally being a final tableist of the WSOP over like the little bit of EV that maybe.
Vanessa Selp says, she's like, yeah, but you're forgetting about the 500K he gets for the full tilt patch. And people thought she was serious. Like, it's no way it's going to be 500K. I'm like, guys, she's joking. Yeah. She's talking about like that's 2008 again.
That's what it used to be.
Doing here?
It was so fitting that she said that because like she hasn't really been playing since full tilt was given out.
Right. Maybe she still thinks that that's what happens now.
Yo, to be quite honest with you, back in the day, it might be worth like queen, not even a thought.
Oh yeah,
in Tamayo's situation because like they were handing out money.
Yeah, if you factor that in.
Well,
by the way, nobody was folding
more
queens
money
back
if you
then.
actually made the final
Sure. Nobody was folding queens back then,
but they should have. Yeah,
they should have because they were there was 500K extra or whatever the case may be.
Well, I remember Full Tilt had that deal where it was like if you qualify with Full Tilt and you wear the patch, you get 10K just for wearing it in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you won the tournament, they were just going to give you like an extra 10 million.
No, it was an extra $1 million.
I think it was 10 million if you win it. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I think it was 1 million. You got an extra $1 million if you won.
Can we fact check that?
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it was $1 million if you won. But I could be wrong.
I mean,
10 million
either way, it's just like this
ridiculous.
like enormous amount of money.
Right.
And it turns out that they didn't have the money, but whatever.
I mean, they would have put it in your account.
No, I mean it was a
It would have been numbers in your account.
You would have been fine. They would have put it in your account.
It was a true like bidding war at the time between Stars and Full Tilt.
Yeah.
Each company wanted to have the most representation as possible at the final table. So that's why you just saw these astronomical numbers being thrown around for people to patch up, and it's just like wild times back then. Never made it. I wish I could have, capitalized, but we did not make the final table of a main event back
you should have just drawn a day one table with Helmuth or Ivy.
I know. That's all we talked about that too. It was like it was so lucky to get chosen to be at the feature table. Like if you back then, if you just got chosen to be at the feature table, you were like gonna make like $10K minimum.
Yep.
Maybe even up to $50K depending on how long you were there and what your chip stack was.
Jesse, were they still handing out checks when you made the final table?
I got a deal with 888 out of it.
Okay.
They actually signed me with like 120 or 150 left in the tournament.
Nice.
I had like a nice rail because I live here.
Okay.
And this guy just came up was like, we like Jesse, we want him to.
What year was yours?
2012.
2012, yeah. So post Black Friday.
Yeah, it was post Black Friday. Stars, Full Tilt, those companies weren't even allowed in the market. And 888 just dominated the whole market.
Right.
But they liked like me and my rail and stuff, so they signed me like pretty early on and gave me, I forget what it was.
You don't have to say.
No, I don't even know what it was, but it was like some number of thousands per day to wear the patch, which was pretty good back then.
For sure. Especially after post Black Friday, you're happy to get something like that.
Yeah, and then when I made the final table, they actually like signed me, and then they put me in a few tournaments per year and did some other stuff.
Yeah, so there was value in making the final table for sure.
Yeah,
a lot more value than just like the ICM implications of finishing 10th and finishing 9th.
Yeah, I don't really know what goes on anymore with that because I don't really see them patching up many people anymore. It seems like at the final table.
I feel like 888 always is always represented at the final table.
Oh, do that? Okay.
I feel like at least a few years ago for sure. Oh yeah, I assume it's like 888 GG, and
I
saw that you guys patched someone up a couple of years ago.
Nope, we didn't. Coming down. Coming down for the final 100 people, we seen Brian Rast play a very interesting hand that I want to get your thoughts about. So it went open under the gun. Rast is under the gun 1 and 3 bets it to 5.5 big blinds. Oh, you can just let it play.
From Russell originally to 1.1. Rasty 3-bet the ace queen, and all of a sudden the cold 4 jam, courtesy of 2 kings in the small for Tamayo.
To 5.5 big blinds, and Tamayo jams for, what was it, 22, I believe? What do you think about this here? There's 24 left in the bird.
Yeah, so I'd fold. But
where's your line?
It was close enough that I looked at it. I think my line would be...
I thought ace queen suited goes in the muck here.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I think honestly it's just ace king.
Yeah.
I do think that Tamayo's pretty in line anyways. I think that I looked it up, and if Tamayo has jacks plus ace queen suited ace king, then if that's what he shoves, then you're 30%, and it looked like he needed about 35%, and that's without ICM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or so edge. With ICM that changes a lot.
What about pairs? Like what are you doing with jacks?
Jacks is pretty gross.
Jacks is tough because he never has 10s.
Right. Yeah. Like I think 10s you
I don't
can
know
fold.
If he ever has 10s.
I think
10s you can fold, and queens you're calling, but like jacks is like...
I think jacks are considerably better to call with than ace king.
Because it allows them to have...
Yeah, they have 16 combos of ace king you flip with at least, and there's a bunch of overlay, whereas here you're just dominated by basically everything.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess you're flipping with 6 combos of jacks, but it just seems a bit worse.
Yeah.
I was surprised he made this call off because Rast has all the confidence in the world, and I felt like he has confidence in his edge after this.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny because like he said he was tired. He said he was absolutely drained, and I feel like this hand right here showed it.
Yeah.
Like he seemed like, I don't think Rast makes this call on the regular, honestly.
I'd be a little surprised. I will say this, Rast is one of the lighter call-off guys I've seen like on the circuit for years and years. make plenty of raise calls for like 15 with kind of like a weaker ace than I think might be correct. But that's all kind of like baked into. Rast is an incredibly tough player to play against, and I think that he prefers it that way, and I think he would prefer to make just a slightly too loose call off than let his opponents think that he's ever
that you can push
holding.
him around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that brings, I think like this small bit of occasional negative EV that comes with that, like creates all these other positive EV situations that we don't even know about.
Yeah, it's just like,
you
you can't quantify it, obviously, but just think how many times people are just like, I can't shove this because I know he's just going to call it off. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just muck it, and he just gets these hands through that probably, in theory, should never get through.
All right,
and it's that's a ton of EV.
Let me ask you guys a better question.
But you could also save that up and do that in like high rollers or situations where you're playing with the same guys over and over again, and not so much in the main event.
In the main event where you're just going to see kings.
But now let me ask you guys a serious question. How do you think Rast felt when he saw Tamayo's queens hit the muck?
I was thinking that's brutal, huh?
He's sick to his fucking stomach. I would have been on life alert. The
Conrad is so happy right now.
The first thing I thought about is I would have been on fucking life tilt.
Yeah.
Probably was like, maybe ace queen off was probably a fold then.
I would have been so sick, honestly. I've been watching that hand, and I'm like, he didn't even take 5 seconds. But no, his hand hit the muck within 5 seconds. I'm going to die.
I think it should be mentioned that like not very many people, you are one of them, but not very many people knows what it's like to be in that moment, to be playing for 7, 8, 9 days in a row of intense poker, especially the last few days, right? Things are very tense.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Right. So like the fatigue that it has on your brain to make every perfect decision over and over again is just got to be incredibly tough.
Listen, I know I played, I think it was the end of day 5 when my longest run, and when I busted, and I was fucking dead. And whatever, I played a hand where somebody was screaming on the rail at the top of their fucking lungs, and I couldn't think for anything.
Sorry, was that me?
No, it wasn't. It was fucking Josh Atkins. I know exactly who the fuck it was. Screaming at the top of his lungs. I couldn't think about anything. I was just like, I just ended up jamming my hand, which was Jackson, and just ran right into aces. But like, honestly, it was like something where like I couldn't even think. My head was just completely blurred. I was tired. Somebody was yelling in my ear, and I just wanted to die at the moment. And guess what I did? I died.
R.I.P. Connie.
A little piece of me just went with that one. It was real upsetting. But there's
it's tough. It's easy to make like really bad mistakes or whatever when you're tired. And these long tournaments make it incredibly tough not to be that tired. I think like
It's
my
impossible.
day 7 play in the main, my run was like some of the worst poker I've played, Like fortunately I just got a lot of good hands in situations where I couldn't have screwed them up that badly.
Yeah.
But like in any situation where I had like actual decisions, I feel like I made the wrong decision like huge chunk of the time.
I mean, you're just dead. If you've never played a 7-day tournament, you don't understand how you feel. Because like once the 6th day comes, it's fucking insane.
Yeah. It's like we're all human. We make mistakes on day 1, right? All the time. Nobody plays perfect poker, but then at day after day after day, those mistakes are probably going to increase just from your fatigue.
Yeah,
the thing that Rast has to keep in mind though is like, yeah, you're tired, but so is everyone else.
Right.
So just get through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's easier to find the call off when you're tired and it's hard to do math. And I could barely count chip stack.
Right.
Like I'm literally looking at people's stacks. I'm like, he's got like 24 million. And then I look back and recount it and be like, he's got like 14 million. It's like, it's unbearable.
You're also dealing with numbers that you're not used to dealing with in tournaments. Like you're used to counting up into the thousands, right? Like not into the tens or hundreds of millions.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be crazy to just change? Would it be crazy to just change the structure of the event instead of having 12-hour days? Maybe do it down to 8 hours. Like I get it.
Nah,
people have
fuck them.
regular
They're playing for
jobs.
$10 million.
No.
You fucking gotta be.
That's great. It's
gotta be
great.
grueling.
Yeah, I
think-
kind of like the grueling aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
me
it's
too.
great. Like, I think the fatigue aspect of it is just part of the tournament, and that's why it's one of the best tournaments in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just. I actually think that's why it's the November 9 not being there anymore is better. Everybody's just, you know.
I do like the day off. The 1 day off in between is nice.
Do they get 1 day off?
Yeah, they're off
Oh, okay,
today.
off
I
today.
wish
Okay,
they got like a week off so you could fly your family out and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like for like these Euro guys, I mean maybe their families flew out on day 7 or whatever, but
Yeah.
for a lot of people you need more time than that to
Right.
make plans.
Mm-hmm.
I could get about 150 people out here if you give me a week.
Yeah, right.
If you give me 1 day, I don't
Yep.
know if anyone's showing up.
Yeah.
Like, I got
it's
work.
Tough. Right. Yeah, it's tough.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely. That's probably the only aspect of November 9 I liked more. Like that you can just get your family out here and
Yeah,
get
it's-
people out here.
Bro, that experience for me was unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a massive rail. Just, I don't know, like the energy was incredible. It was also Halloween when we played three-handed, and my whole rail's just like dressed up in cool outfits. It was really fun.
I mean, you guys had kind of like a combined rail. You and Russell.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, day 1, so they were like very much, it's funny how like the t-shirts separate like the sections.
Right,
So you can
yeah,
really
yeah.
see like where your section ends.
Yeah.
Next one begins. Day 1, they were like very much their group and my group, outside of like family and people that we both knew because we were really good friends, and or we are really good friends. And well, you know, and so day 2, like after he busted out, like him and a bunch of his friends just like came in and kind of combined rails. That was cool.
Nice. Wow, look who it is. Look who it is. He comes and joins us. The Prince. What's poppin', Landy?
Hi.
He doesn't even have a camera right now. We're down bad. So anyway, moving on. There was some good stories, some fun being played in the main event. We saw Jesse Caps and all the Ducks.
Yeah, that was great.
Love it.
That was so good. He's just like, he was man.
Bro, he channeled that 10.
He hit two outers.
Unreal.
Really?
Yes,
I mean, that was sick.
it was pretty.
Like he's just setting up these ducks for like literally a minute and a half, and I'm just watching it. Oh, by the way, I was like halfway into taking a nap, so I'm like tired too. Like, what is he doing right now? And then the 10 just came right off the deck. I was like,
Right.
all right, fuck it, do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah.
I guess, because that was crazy.
You need some magic in the main event.
It was so good. Like the guy exposed his hand, which was King Queen on like Queen 6 deuce. Jesse had 1 5K chip behind or something stupid like that, and he's just looking at top pair, and he has 10s, and he just starts tanking and moving his ducks around.
Got to get your soldiers in
It's like,
position.
he had to talk to his ducks. He's like, Ducks, I need a 10. And they brought him a 10 right
They
in
did.
the
They
fucking
brought him a
turn.
They didn't make
Amazing.
him wait. One
Didn't
card.
make him wait.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just boom.
I was watching that and I was just like, I couldn't believe it fell. This is like also when like Chrissy hit the ace on the river the day before yesterday.
That was
It was just
wild.
like, ah man, she's out. Like
That
and
was so
ace. I'm
great.
like, holy shit.
See,
How
that
did
one I
card
kind of
come?
felt coming, but the 10s I was shocked by.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't know
mean,
why.
It's it's tough to hit these 1, 2, 3 outers.
It was like Jesse wanted it too much, so
Yeah.
they weren't going to deliver it.
Right.
Like you always, whenever you see somebody like pleading that hard for it, they never get it. And so when the 10 ran off, I was just like, oh my god.
How did you just do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty sick.
Landon, have you hit any 2-outers in the last week?
No.
There he is.
Hello. No.
No.
No. I'm losing. I'm losing more than him. We're both losing. I'm losing more. For now.
You know what I was thinking of the other day?
Tell me.
It would have been pretty epic if you booked this bet and then either one of you just took the summer off and just talked trash while the other one.
Yeah.
That would
I
have
mean,
been
obviously it
actually
looks
would be
easier to
pretty
do
sick.
once you're both stuck, but
Yeah,
it would have
that
been pretty funny if that was your strategy.
Yeah, that would have been good. It's interesting because like he was kind of up at the start of the summer. Like I think he was like plus 20, and like for a small time I was up a little bit after the 1500 6 max. But that would definitely be some good strategy. Just crossbook and just be like, nah, like you're losing this summer, bro. Like I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna go fuck off and make 20K while you go grind all day. Make 30K even, damn. Yeah, so like I'm stuck 45K, which is effectively near nothing when it comes to tournament poker. And I was kind of having this talk with him, just kind of walking through the aria, where like when we're both playing mid-stakes stuff and most of the things we're playing are just like 3K ABI and under, you just get wrecked basically every summer unless you win something. Because you min cash and then the ladders are nothing, and then final two tables are where all the money is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't make final two tables in tournaments with thousands of runners, like you're just not going to be able to have a good summer.
Yeah.
But if you bet on Seward instead of me and for Becker, you'd be printing.
Yeah.
This is why when Ashley would always, every summer it seemed like Ashley broke even. And I had to kind of remind her how sick it is to break even
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in a
it
summer
is.
of MTTs.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's just hard to win in a game that you're not supposed to cash most of the time.
Yeah, like
And
I don't play like, huge volume. I played, whatever, 15 tournaments in summer. And like last year I had a winning summer. The year before I had a winning summer. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's like, it's easy. And then this year came along.
It's just been bad.
And yeah, I mean, it's just like, but it's the variance of the game that we play, right? You lose like a lot of flips, and you just, you get bad table draws, you get like all the negative stuff, and that when that all happens at once, it's just like you're just not going to win.
Yeah, there's definitely the game never gets cheaper the longer you're in the tournament. The all-ins you win become more and more expensive,
Right.
And then you have to keep winning them in order to stay in the tournament and win. So
Yeah.
just very hard to have a winning summer.
Yeah, and like a lot of these
in
low
general.
buy-in tournaments that I play, I mean, they're essentially, Berkey calls them turbos, right? They're like half-hour levels, a lot of them, and you're just going to be getting the money in a lot. You're going to be flipping a lot, or you're going to be 70%, or you're going to be 30%. It's just like to win a bunch of those in a row. What you need to do to run deep is very difficult.
Well, that's why it's very difficult to win in the first place when you're supposed to be all in so much and you forget the times you win flips, but then you have to win like a good amount of them in a row or win a bunch of single race pots in a row that may or may not go to showdown, which allow you to potentially be in more flips, not even win them, if that makes sense.
I forget who it was making the deep run at the main event, and it was one of the days, I forget, maybe day 6 or something. They said they had 6 6 flips and won them all.
Yeah, and even then, right? Like he got final two tables, because then he ran Jacks into Kings against Brian Kim.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, like you did all of these things and had a sick result. And fortunately, the payout structure was more beneficial to deep runs and not just the FTers, that all that stuff can still go right and you still need to do more. Where Brian Kim had like 5 bigs at one point on day 5.
Yeah.
And then just won an all in, won another one, and then won some single race pots, and now here he is at FT second in chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Final Nine's pretty sick. Brian Kim, Lena, like flows, like just legends of the game, kind of. But the one that we all wanted to see make it, unfortunately, did not. Kristen Foxen. What's
Sad.
like? What type of impact does she have in the game? Like making the final table of the main. Like how crazy would that be?
I think her deep run again just shows that like anybody compete in this game. It doesn't matter who you are,
But
it's
she
great,
also is
but
one of the best.
I think she is. She's one of the best for sure, and I think that like it would have just been exponentially better the further she made it. Right, so like 2 tables, that's great, and she makes a final table that's huge. It hasn't happened since 1995, and then
Who was in 1995?
Barbara. Oh God.
Barbara Enright.
Enright. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara Enright. Yeah. And but like and then winning the whole thing, I think would have just been amazing for poker, for women in poker, for the growth of the game and everything. So
I completely
we'll have to wait
agree.
till next year.
I mean, it might be. Hopefully, I want to see it. We do have her bust out hand here. Swap and cue that up for us.
It's been playing, Connie.
It's been cued.
Oh.
It's been cued.
There's a big monitor right there.
Oh, Guapo, bro, we love you. Guapo, don't leave us. Guapo, don't leave us. Don't leave us.
What were your thoughts on this hand, Landy?
I think the idea makes sense. I'm not sure if the combo is like a correct one, so to speak, in the land of like theory. Because I think that if you're going to go for something like this with ICM pressure, you probably want something with pair block, straight block, and more equity. So like potentially King X of spades, Jack X of hearts, Queen X of Hearts, hands that like block the nuts, and if you do somehow run into it, you'd have equity to draw to the nuts. That's not just a gutter. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know, and it's weird because I was having this conversation yesterday about most people not really trying to find like the aggro nodes to reaggress and find these bluffs in the first place. So like if someone's operating under a standpoint that it's final two tables of the main, like they're only going to have straights here, like now you can probably get away with some stuff that you that might not be theoretically sound, but at the same time, like the range that flows is betting flop, betting turn is going to be very strong or like very equity dense. So you have to be very careful when it comes to like the blockers you use and the equity you have if you can get called. Where if she has a hand like Jack 10 of hearts here, and it's like, okay, like I block 2 pair. If somehow he has a hand, like blocking Jack 10 of hearts blocks Queen 10 of hearts, which is obviously super important here to have the straight plus flush draw block. You're just going to be able to have equity just in case you run into the top end range of flows like ace, king, kings, aces, and like the one combo of jacks that still exists when you do have the jack block. Because of the bluffs he's going to have are going to be like some flush draws and then some absolute nonsense probably. Like he's probably going to have some like 6-5 suited, like the turn 2 pair block with probably no suits on the board. So like 6-5 of clubs, things like this, which you're doing well against with king, queen anyways. But I think in this spot, it's probably going to be like indifferent to like a call fold situation versus a jam. But I'm not entirely sure. But that's kind of what makes sense in my brain.
What do you think, Jess?
I mean, I definitely agree with a lot of that. I don't know how often he should actually have. I think he should be very polar here, and I don't know how often he should actually have flush draws on this stack to pot ratio, because like he can have like the really bad ones, right? But like betting a 10 high or queen high flush draw there seems pretty disastrous to get shoved for like not that much more and have to fold. I would imagine you do like a lot of checking there, and if you ever pick this size, you mostly have a really polar range, and your bluffs are kind of like lower equity bluffs that block something. So like, something like 10-8 suited, or like maybe some kind of like weird,
like 10, like 10,
you
9,
mentioned,
no
the 5
draw.
is really nice to probably use.
Yeah, like if you have some things like along those lines of small things and bad flush draws, and then maybe like Jack 10. Maybe like bottom pair block, straight block.
I actually mentioned Jack 10 last night when I was talking about this hand.
And then like if
cool.
you get jammed on, you just fold because like it's not that bad,
Yeah.
But then if you have like Jack X of hearts, you just like bet call it because you just have so much equity.
For that reason, if you're putting the money in anyways, and I know this is like a good combo because you don't really block any relevant flush draws and stuff like that, but if you're putting the money in anyways, and you think that they don't have that much equity with their bluffs, like it kind of makes sense to do it in like a call. Node.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weird thing when it comes to a hand this good, and why I think in theory it's probably going to lean somewhere between a call and a fold over playing jam with that one. For the reasons you're talking about, like you just have a draw to the nuts, which can come in sometimes, and you're doing well versus the polar range where the lower side of that is not doing very well against you.
Yeah, and like you said, you have stuff like Queen 8 of hearts that you can just happily bluff with that doesn't have showdown value and has more equity when called. And it's a lot nicer. I also kind of question how often people are sizing this large with their bluffs. Like it might be it's not that hard to find bluffs, but it might be like a slightly under bluffed bet size.
He went like 11 into 14, right?
Yeah, he bet like 80% of pot, and it was like almost a third of her remaining stack. I feel like that might be a little bit oriented around hands that just want protection more than like the bluffs, and he bluffs like a little bit smaller, so if he wants to shove river,
kind of feels like he has what he had.
Yeah, a little bit. There's 2 flush draws out there too, so like it's like you don't really want to bluff with the flush draws. He might, I don't know. Like people choose the flush draws when they shouldn't be chosen all the time. But because there's 2 flush draws on the board, he might be a little bit less excited about bluffing other stuff because it looks like a draw, because like there's so many potential draws. So if he does have something like Jack 10, maybe he just checks back and tries to see showdown. If he has a 5, maybe he doesn't find as many. So although like 5 is a really nice one to bluff with. because it just can't win once they check call the flop and like.
Yeah, and you block
have
2
it-
pair, and then you
yeah.
block the ace-5 for Chrissy. That's going to call 1.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. Yeah, I mean, you never really know what's going on in like the terms of bet sizing and like if someone going smaller with value or bluffs. You know, hard to know. His size is probably relatively close to like the size you want to use of like geometric 2 for like the same size turn, same size river. But yeah, it's definitely tough, and it's a weird in between where like if he just has like ace queen here that's going for like value and then gets jammed on, like it's not that easy of a decision if you think like, oh man, like this is probably just like 2 pair at worst, you know?
Yeah, but I kind of feel like maybe he just picks a different size a lot with ace queen.
Yeah.
In practice.
Yeah,
Just a
not sure.
smaller size.
I mean, it's hard because I'm speculating on like player tendencies that I just can't confirm are true or not. But that was like my instinct was a lot of those hands that would have bet folded might not have bet 80% in the first
They just
place.
bet smaller. They just go like 60% or like
and it's
50.
not that unreasonable to have 2 sizes, right? Like if you want to build out 2 sizes, like you'd probably put ace queen in the smaller size, and you'd probably put like ace jack in the smaller size, and then put like ace king in the bigger size or whatever. And queen 10 would be a lot in the bigger size and probably split a little bit.
Well, you guys know when something like this happens, the community comes full out on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as soon as she jammed, poker Twitter was on it.
Poker Twitter was on it. We did see some tweets from people defending the jam from like Vanessa Selfs. He says, cue all the wizards saying how easy of a fold it is with king queen. Meanwhile, when Schrock shows up with 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited, random flush draws, Chrissy B folds him off his equity, and she's a genius, obviously. What do you think about that? Like,
Well, it's just funny because someone under that wrote like, "Show me 10-9 suited in the range pre." It's like, well, he just has a chip lead and is gonna open 10-9, 10-8 suited pre.
She's gonna be open everything.
So it's like, yes, he's gonna have these hands, and he's not only gonna have the flush draw versions of them. I mean, if he's just like going for like the triple off, he's gonna have like 10-8 no suit more so than like 10-8 flush draw, because like Jesse said, getting jammed on is kind of a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's going to look really good or really bad, regardless of like the things that she was thinking about in game or like the experience that she's been having playing with flows the entire time. Like there's just so much stuff that goes into a decision that's not just like whatever the machine has to say about it, where maybe she just thought he was like more weighted to having bluffs, and
I think
he had
Vanessa,
it.
I think Vanessa's overall point is that like he does have bluffs here, and when he does actually have the bluffs in the actual hand, when she jams, she looks like a genius. And then, but this time he was nutted,
And that's,
so she looks like she punt, but like, you know, it's hard to really tell.
yeah, and that's what happened when she bluffed 9s against Yags. When she had 9s,
Right.
no suit.
Yeah.
He had jacks
Hey,
with the
jacks.
better hand without a flush draw. She bluffs and makes a good bluff.
Right. If he's nutted there, they're like, why would she do that?
Exactly.
It was a punt. But
Exactly.
like, instead, the you know, the sentiment was, wow, she's a killer, right? So.
Jesse, what's your take on that? That's your mentor.
on what Vanessa said? I mean, I actually talked to her about this last night. So I think like the biggest takeaway was like, should he have stuff like 10-9 suited there, and does he have stuff like 10-9 suited there? And like I kind of conceded to her that like very possible that he does. If he should or not, I'm not 100%. We'd have to like run it, but it seems like a pretty good hand to be checking back a lot because getting shoved on sucks.
Yeah.
But you're in this ICM environment where like you're supposed to play a bit more passive, so maybe the hand realizes a bit better. There's like so much going on in the hand.
Yeah.
To Landon's point though, like, okay, let's say he has 16 combos of 9-10, he bluffs with all of them. Still think it's like really good to just go call in that case, because they have 3 outs, right? Like
Sure.
it's really not that big of a. Also in theory, I'm pretty sure this is generally true. Let's say that you make your straight on the 10 river. I'm pretty sure the 10s are like the leading candidate for hands that want to be continuing bluffing on those runouts. It's usually like the other gut shot that made their pair or whatever.
Okay.
So that's kind of something. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Vanessa like made a perfectly fine point. It's just more about does he have enough flush draws? Because like if he just has 9-10 suited of the 2 different flush draws, that's not that many combos, right? And we still might be better served just calling down or potentially folding, because if he has those, that doesn't mean his range isn't unbelievably nutted overall.
It's weird because in theory, like using theory as like your baseline, you can have a good idea as to like what is supposed to be there. and then trying to play the game of what does he have not that it doesn't matter to you, but it doesn't really apply in your decision-making process, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where in practice, the machine is not aware of final two table of the main event ICM kind of thing. So that makes sense. Like, it's not the same game as playing final two tables in a different kind of tournament, you know? Like, the money that you can make or ladder from these spots definitely changes and impacts the way that people see the game, and not just see the game, but like the future value of the stack, like how, honestly, like how much someone can take variance, you know, where laddering 200K is like a huge deal in somebody's life, where in the machine, they're like, haha, like just go play good poker and then like live with it.
It's 10 million up top. What the hell's 200K? But 200K in real life dollars is a thing.
Oh, and also, by the way, like speaking of sponsorships, the one person who gets sponsored, if they get 5th or whatever in the main.
Chrissy fucking
Yeah,
B.
it's Chrissy.
Yeah,
So like there's
right.
actual value there as well.
Yeah, maybe
I should have taken sponsorship EV into it.
Yeah. No, we were talking about that earlier before you, like when we were talking about Tamayo's fold with queens.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe, you know, there's like some consideration of you know, sponsorships at the final table, which is not that much of a thing now, but in the past it would have been.
Sure. I mean, I think he's like capped at maybe getting like 10 to 20K to wear some kind of patch at the FT.
Yeah, so that can't really have too much impact.
Whereas
his
Chrissy
decision.
might actually be able to like hook
like
up
$1 million deal or
yeah,
something like
that. I think
that,
it's
right?
possible. I don't know if it's regardless of whether or not you like her shove, it was really uncharacteristic of her play over like the last 4 days for her to shove there. Like she did a really incredible job of, I don't want to call it small ball, but like she just like kept the pots manageable and never took like high variance routes where she didn't think it was like for instance, I think the 9s bluff was very likely a really profitable bluff.
Like people are going to compare those two, but they're very different situations.
They're really different hands. And she did a really good job of keeping variance low in like the more marginal spots. And I think she was extremely aware of like her post flop edge in that field and how much people are torching it. Like she was doing a lot of really cool stuff, like her hand versus Hernandez, where she bet like, I mean, maybe it's a theory big bet, but like she bet really large when she made a boat against him. And I just kind of felt like that was the guy you want to like big bet against. He's very skeptical all the time of people. So anyways, I guess my point is like she was navigating extremely well and keeping things small when edges weren't as high. And I felt like that hand kind of went away from that a little bit.
I mean, she also ran super fucking hot.
Oh yeah.
Super hot the last 2 days.
Yeah. Well,
like,
you know, everyone has to make it to where they are.
Yeah.
Well, I actually ran pretty cold in my
Yeah.
So Ben CB actually put out a tweet, kind of echoing Vanessa in a way, but I don't know. We'll talk about it. He says all the people saying Chrissy B king queen off turn shove is a punt probably never node lock the sim. She gets ace queen ace 10 to fold, even lots of ace 5 ace 9 type hands bet fold. Yes, those hands make sense to barrel turn. You get jack 10, king 10 type of hands to fold, even some splits like weak ace X and value from pair and flush draw you're ahead against. You can expect king queen type of hands check shoving turn. So I expect lots of thin value bets on the turn to check back river. This can easily be a money printing turn shove with all the hands that can bet fold. Yes, sometimes you'll run into top of range, that's poker. That's why she is one of the best for many years. I can imagine we get the fold 70%, 80% of the time, and she gets a good price on shoving turn. Sure, you can argue that with her edge, she could wait. But if this one goes through, she's in a good position to bully the entire final table. So massive future game too. I also imagine that in this spot can be extremely profitable considering the unbalanced turn betting range, also, parentheses, also easy to barrel all the lower pocket pairs we get to fill in the fold. I have a lot of respect for players like her to run these huge bluffs in such a tournament. Well played, Chrissy.
Yeah, I mean, the issue to some extent is a pretty like solver intuitive bluff would be like the low pockets that he's going to raise pre, because you have good unblockers to hands that she's going to check call the flop and then check fold the turn. But at the same time, who knows that like if he's even betting turn in the first place, you know? So now it's like, okay, does he know? Does he study? Yes. Does he play these spots? Yes. But like finding the bluff combos is easier for someone like Ben that like knows what the solve looks like very well, to be able to try to be like, okay, I think that king queen won't jam on me like it's supposed to. I'm now going to over aggress on the turn, versus trying to make this decision in real time. But like it's tough, man, because I think that if it works out, everyone's like, geez, like she's the best, you know, like she knew he had nothing kind of thing. Or like even if she rivers a 10, it's like, okay, like got bailed out, like here she is with like all the chips. And then like the future game argument of if this gets through, she has a bunch of chips, where it's also like if she folds, she still has a lot of chips. So it's weird to try to come up with like an accurate conclusion as to like, is it good or not?
Right.
It just kind of is.
Can I play devil's advocate real quick?
You
I
would
noticed
never.
that he called relatively quickly there on the end, and I assume that's because he had her covered. I wonder if she gets it through if they have a similar stack. Or
He
she
just had
has them
top
covered.
2. He just had
Yeah, but that's not the situation, right? The situation is that he bet a third of her stack, and so he snaps off all of his value hands that aren't ace queen if he bets ace queen this size.
Yeah, he knew when
aren't
he
ace
when he
10.
bet the 11-6 that he was calling it off.
Yeah.
Like he already
Okay.
knew that when he made the bet. So
like
it's
I
not
think
a lot
I
to
think you have a
about.
very fair point. Like if she was like 30 million deeper, like the shove is a lot more effective.
Yeah.
But like we have to analyze it from, I don't know. That's just like I think what Ben's kind of saying is you can node lock it and say it's a really good shove depending on what you
no lock at 4.
yeah, and you can say it's like a really bad shove, and so
Right.
it's kind of. But the difference is Ben's playing 2Ks online with like 90 player fields, and they're all sickos.
And they're all node locking.
And she's like at the final. She's at the final 2 tables of the main event where a lot of people have like 50 to like a couple 100K in winnings.
yeah.
And like I mean, the biggest evidence for me is like every time somebody bombed the turn, like final 3 tables down, it seemed like they just had
it.
And everyone
yeah.
hero folded the turn. They were always right.
Mhm.
And so that's like what I'm going off of a little bit because, and maybe I'm a little bit biased
Because
because
you've been
of
in
that.
the booth.
Yeah, well, yeah, and just watching it last night too.
Do we think
Yeah.
that Flows has all these hands that he mentions here?
I mean, probably sometimes, you know, who knows
hard
all
to
the
say.
time, some of the time. That's kind of the issue with, not issue with poker, but the issue with
It's
having,
the issue with node locking.
it's the issue with having answers, right? Because
true.
you never actually have
Right.
the answers. You
Right.
can have a baseline,
right.
Yeah.
but
Right.
you never know if he's like, you don't know what his turn barrel frequency is with bad hands.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know
when-
he's going to have good hands.
When you node lock, you're making assumptions about the other person's range that you could never be 100% accurate about.
Yeah, where like he might just have like pocket 4s and just be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is my worst pair. I'm just gonna bet the flop, bet the turn, and jam the river and make her call me. And then she jammed on him with king queen. He's like, well, at least I didn't have to jam the river. But this time he had top 2 and was like, okay, once I bet the turn and she jams, I need to call off because that was the plan.
Right,
Stick to the plan.
Yeah, the point of like node locking is to find thresholds in poker. Like, okay, well, if they can have this, this, and this, then I can shove. And if they can't, then I probably don't want to shove. And then you get like better at those situations, and then you make your own interpretation of what they're doing at the table in real time. So like what he said doesn't really add much. Well, it adds stuff, but like because it's just his interpretation of what their range is.
Right,
And then we have our
exactly.
interpretation.
Mhm.
It like doesn't really it doesn't really change anything. I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, we're not going to get to the answer. that
Yeah.
way.
But yeah, node locking's a great tool.
You're never gonna have the answer, but that's kind of what makes no locking difficult. Is you can just custom your solves to the answers that you want them to be. You know, where it's like, oh, I think this guy's range betting, but who knows if he's range betting or not. But then once you add those assumptions in, you can say whatever you think is good. But once again, you may be right, but you won't have the
I
answer.
may be crazy.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Chrissy herself. We have our bust out interview here.
Kristen Foxen, this has been a long and I'm sure grueling run. Do you allow yourself at this point to take pride in how you played throughout the main?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was, I don't even know how many hours of poker, and I feel pretty happy. Even my bust out hands, like, you know, I feel fine with it, honestly. Like, kind of a close spot, but I think that whatever, just, yeah. I feel okay with, like, every hand I feel pretty good about, and yeah.
You've dreamed of being the woman that wins the main. What was it like to live out such a huge part of that dream?
Yeah, more than anything, like, just so thankful for all the support that I had, and like overwhelmed with messages and love from everybody. I'm gonna take these off. And yeah, it was like overwhelming, really, really sweet. And it just feels like it was a really cool tournament where it felt like, you know, I felt very prepared for the spot and the run. And I'm, yeah, just really happy with how I played. And I feel like comparing it to how I played, you know, 10 years ago or something, I'm just, yeah, I'm proud of myself.
And finally, I know it's the obvious question on the board, but it's an important one. Do you feel like this run will serve as motivation, as inspiration to women watching out there?
I hope so. I mean, I hope it just shows, like, you know, don't be afraid to sit down and play with guys, you know?
Congratulations on a great run. Appreciate the time. Kristen Foxen, one of the best in the world. Guys.
Yo,
add out to the queen of poker.
mad respect.
Straight up queen.
For first of all, going for it in that spot, because that's really terrifying.
Yeah, of
when
course.
you're wrong. And second of all, going up there and just being like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with, like, I played the hand the way I played the hand, and I'm just gonna own it. I think that's really, and she like carried herself so well at, like, I just noticed many times where her demeanor and her, the way that she did everything in kind of a very slow, methodical fashion, including like going over to a rail and stuff. Like, she was just really impressive as a poker player.
She's been there before, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it shows. It really does show. She's one of the best. I actually have a funny story about her and Alex. So, this winter, we were up in Tahoe. And, you know, they have the little casino there where they have 1-3 game. I'm hanging out there, and I look over. I see this girl with big glasses on and a hoodie. All right. I'm looking at the table. See this guy with this big sweat. He's this huge motherfucker, right? Cut off sweatshirt, glasses this big, hood on. And I just start looking. These motherfuckers. It was Kristen and Alex playing 1-3. Hold on. Hold on. Let me tell you the best part about this. Every time Alex left the table, the dealer would talk about how bad he played. It was one of the funniest shits I've ever heard in my life. Literally, the dealer's screaming it. I'm 2 tables over, and I can just hear him talk shit about how Alex is playing. Kristen's fucking dying laughing and sitting right next to the dealer, absolutely in tears. It was hilarious.
That's funny. That like actually tracks because like earlier like interview, she was saying about how like poker is their life and that's all they do. And they go on these vacations and they're just like, you know, we're gonna go on vacation and they're like, and we're just like bored and want to go play poker because that's what they love to do. Yeah. And so they find themselves at a 1-3 table in Tahoe, right? Or they're playing a tournament that's popping off at the casino down the road. So they're just like always playing poker, always thinking about it, and that's probably why they have the results that they do.
Like, man, this guy's ridiculous. Like, he keeps overbetting, and I call him, and he just got Jack 4 off. Like, what's he doing? If he stays, he's going broke.
Dude, it was so funny. I can't tell you how funny it was. The dealer was literally like just losing his mind.
Imagine you want to go play some 1-3, and then you just have like them sitting there, and then Conrad sits down. Just like, what is this game I'm playing right now?
Oh, hold on. By the way, that game, the game I was, the day before I think it was. Or a day after. It was like me, Espen, Henry, fucking a bunch of, it was just a wild table.
Softest 1-3 game in America.
Felt bad for the other people that sat down.
One of the more gangster stories I've heard in the last like 5 years involved Foxen. You guys remember when that stampede happened?
Yeah.
Or
a couple years ago.
At the MGM. Or
no,
because of the MGM thing, right?
But it happened at the World Series. Yeah.
Basically, for those who don't know out there, somebody thought there was a shooter or something, and basically it caused like waves of people panicking across like 3 different casinos.
Shit, it was the whole
everyone
strip.
was like running. Like basically, people just started running, then other people started freaking out, and it was a whole panic over essentially nothing happening. But I had friends who were in the casino, and they said it was terrifying. Like they got literally run over by people in the hallways.
Right, yeah.
Like, a lot of people are getting injured.
The runner had that big gash in his hand.
Yeah, and everyone thought there was like a terrorist threat or something.
Right.
As my friend's running out, sees Alex hoofing it into the casino. And then after everything had calmed down, he was like, what were you running into the casino for? And Alex just looked at him like he was crazy. He's like, Chrissy was in there.
Aww.
I was like, yo, amazing. That's really cool.
Right.
For real.
Yeah.
Man,
and also somebody said that Alex is a real life Jack Reacher. on some TV show. But like
I love that show.
shit checks out like so crazy accurate. It's really good.
It's crazy because like, you know, we saw what happened over the weekend, and we do live in like crazy times, and like, so it's just like people are like, you know, on high alert and things like this happen. So yesterday I'm playing the 777, right? And I don't know, it's like 1:30. And we're in Paris, and you know, it's not like super full. It's like half full maybe, because, you know, things are winding down. And I'm playing, and all of a sudden, like probably more than half the room, right? Like half or maybe the majority of the room starts screaming, like shrieking, screaming, like, ah! And I'm like, my heart sunk. I thought, oh my God, where are the exits?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
There was a roach?
Yeah, right. You would think. No, England scored. Fucking soccer. I mean, it was like, it wasn't cheering like a cheer like when you know, like watching a sporting event. It was like a shrieking, like death. Like, what are you people doing? Like, I know you like soccer, but Jesus Christ. I literally, my heart sunk to like
That's
through
funny.
my chest, because I was like, oh my God, like what is happening right now? I thought that we were gonna be like stampeding out again. But
Talking about the
it was just a, you know,
It was the Euro finals, bro. You know about Euro finals.
Yeah, well,
Talking
you know
about
what, they
that-
lost anyways. So
Talking about that Stampede day. So I had literally just busted a tournament. I'm literally walking out of the garage on floor 1, and I turn around. There's 2 cops sitting in their car right there. And I turn around, and I just see hundreds of people run out the fucking casino.
Damn.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? The cops are sitting there so fucking puzzled. They're like, what the fuck is going on? I literally am looking at them, look at each other like, what the fuck is going on? They didn't move from their car. It was quite interesting. But we've seen some other shit happen in the main event. Nadia put out a tweet yesterday talking about stalling. Apparently, the side table played 20 less hands than the main table at one point. It was 100 to 80.
yeah.
Did you,
It's a lot.
when you made your run, was there something like this?
I don't
Did
think
you
that
realize any discrepancy along these lines?
I think people are less sensitive to this situation and weren't as concerned about it. I remember McKeon's year, they were getting really upset about how one table was playing slower. And that was like the first time I really heard somebody raise serious concerns about it. So our year, that could have happened, and we just didn't.
I don't think people understood the value of stall, like how much EV you actually gained by stalling at that
Which
time.
is
Like
funny
people,
because there was more value then because everyone's torching it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, and now that people understand that, you just see it becoming, you know, a
It's
big
bad
problem.
when someone's on a pay jump and they say, "Man, I should have taken longer because I was going to be all in."
Yeah,
That's not how poker works.
it seems like
you got to fix that.
It seems like the you know, the fact that like how bad the stalling was, going hand for hand with 2 tables left would probably actually make the game faster. Like it would speed the game up.
Not even close. Yeah.
Right. Like so, I don't know. I wonder if maybe next year they'll think about doing that, and you know, I think it would be probably a good idea to at least entertain it.
How big of a problem is it if one table is playing 20% faster than the other?
A big problem. It's like a huge fucking problem. Like a really big problem. Like it needs to be stopped because
man is losing his mind.
Well, because one table is paying like double the amount of antes and stuff. You know.
Yeah, but
so like,
what if you're on the table that's playing slower?
Still toxic.
I'm joking.
By the way, somebody had a good solution for this. They said extend the breaks for the tables that play faster and make the other tables play out till they play the same number of hands.
Wow.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that seems kind of nice. So like,
Or
take
just-
your time. Don't slow up the other tables,
Yeah.
but they just get like a longer break to go chill while you finish out your hand.
Agreed. Or they do a hand for hand, not hand for hand, but like
Hand
you
per
play
round.
out. Yes, you play 10 hands, and then it's something along
But
those
you're
lines.
still sitting around waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes, whereas at least you can go off and get a snack, or if you have enough time, like get a meal.
Yeah, no, I agree with that a lot. I like that.
It definitely becomes more manageable the less people that are in the tournament. You know, like
Yeah,
no
you got
one's
to
expecting
implement it
this.
2 tables or 3. Yeah, you're
Nobody
right.
wants this like Final 5, Final
Yeah.
6, Final 7.
No,
you know?
Final
A
2
little bit of
tables
a problem,
at the
though,
max.
I think, with doing what you said, Conrad, is that they got to balance the table. So now someone's at one table and they played almost all their hands. Now they got to get moved to the other
That
table
is-
and
that's
play a
a
whole
good
bunch more
point.
hands.
That's a very good point.
Right. So like, I just think hand for hand is just probably just solves it.
At what point, though? At what point do we go hand
I
for
think
hand?
2 tables is reasonable.
Is it 2 tables or pay jumps on the pay jumps?
I just think 2 tables.
And
I
what
just
would
think because they're stalling, because the pay jumps are like 2 people,
2 to 3 people,
right? 2
yeah.
to 3 people. So it's just like people are they're stalling when there's 2 out, and I mean obviously it's probably worse when it's 1, but they're still doing it when they're 2 people away from a pay jump. So.
Yeah. The year that Daniel got 11th, I think they went hand for hand when there were 11 left or 12
That's
left.
the year I was talking about. That was the McCann year,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first year I ever heard anybody really bring it up. And
because it was so bad that they felt like they had to step in and do something.
It wasn't even, I don't think it was even intentional. I think there was like an Italian kid. I don't want to say an Italian kid because there was an Italian kid. I don't know if it was his fault, but somebody.
Don't go after our people, Jesse.
No.
What are you doing here?
Somebody on the other table was playing much slower, and I honestly believe he wasn't stalling. He just played slow. But when you get down to 2 tables and the EV of that is so high, the other table's going to be like, yo.
Like, yeah,
we're,
we're losing EV here,
Yeah.
just like sitting here. It's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Landy?
I already said what I think.
You got
hand for hand, final 2 tables, and then final 2 tables. Just it's manageable to have like a floor person walk around, because at some point somebody with a lot of chips should be the one calling clock
every single fucking time.
Yeah, because they're the ones that benefit the most from playing fast.
I mean, it is good they go hand for hand once they get to the final table. So.
Right.
You know, it'd be better than hand for hand even. Just do time banks.
Yeah.
Well, the issue, I guess, is just how long you make pre, right?
Yeah.
With time banks, just because.
So implement a shot clock at like final 2 tables.
Yeah, I say implement a shot clock like 3, 4 tables.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think shot clocks can come in way before that.
I think shot clocks should start the tournament.
Yeah, obviously, right.
I think the issue like that deep is with the chip leader. It's kind of like a 1 versus 8 situation.
Yeah.
Where all 8 other people at the table are not trying to play hands, but the guy that has the most chips is very incentivized to play as many hands as possible.
Well, there's like easy rules you could have, like you only have 10 to 15 seconds to decide on an unopened pot, and then you only have like 15 or 30 seconds to decide once it's been opened, and then you know what I mean?
Sure, and I just mean from the sense of if we're doing that, the people can take up to 3 minutes pre-flop without even using a time chip. If everyone uses out the time, because like on break or whatever, they're like, hey man, like this is really good for us. If we're not on the feature table and we're playing slower because
everyone just lets their time bank run down like all 6 people.
Yeah, and they get to 1 second fold, 1 second fold, and they're not doing anything without they're not breaking the rules,
right?
But it's definitely gaming the system in a way.
But at the same
kind
time,
of what happens online.
Yeah, but you could still have the shot clocks like this, and then also go hand for hand, and it'll still speed up the hand for hand process, which is like inherently.
Once it's hand for hand, there's no reason to have time.
Well, there's still a reason, but
if they don't want to use,
nobody's going to be once it's hand for hand. There's no reason to stall at all.
No, I agree, but it'll still make the hands play out faster.
I think WSOP doesn't want to use shot clocks like for the main, which I think is valid just because it's a big spot. It's a lot of money and people don't want to make mistakes. I think having hands take as long as they need to is fine, just in the relation of are other people being taken advantage of because of this, where hand for hand just takes that away for sure.
Well, no, but here's the issue with that. So, okay, you have a situation where you say you could take all the time you want, and obviously somebody could call the clock, but generally with 2 tables left, people don't because it's 2 tables left in the main. So you just have a guy who facing a big river bet, maybe not for all of his chips or most of his chips, but a fairly big river bet. One person just decides it's reasonable to take 3 minutes, and another person decides it's reasonable to take 15 minutes on the river decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think time chips still matter when you're hand for hand, because that person should pay some sort of price for deciding it's reasonable to take 5 times as long as the other person. Like I take more time than a lot of people on river decisions. I try to make up for it by being very fast pre-flop and like c-betting or whatever.
Yeah. That's what Berkey always says too. Yeah.
But I like time banks because it's like, okay, I'm going to take my time on the river and that's fair, but I'm using up my resource like the same way you're using it up somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like if you want to use it pre-flop and, just exhaust your time banks to stall or whatever, it's fine. But like you won't have them when you need a decision, but you'll have them because you play fast pre-flop.
The ideal solution is chess clocks, but that's just so hard to implement live. Like the GG poker clocks are amazing.
Clocks?
So you just literally have all you have is a time bank.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just starts immediately when it's on you. And maybe it's like 30 or 45 minutes. But once you run out of that, you've either checked immediately or whatever. So you can't let it run out.
Gotcha.
And that way, like every second you use in any street is equal to any other second that you use. But the problem is that's so hard to implement live, right? Because then you would need like clocks for each person. The dealer would have to hit it very accurately.
Right.
People start bitching about like you took an extra 5 seconds off of my chest.
Yeah, you didn't hit it.
You
didn't hit it in time. Yeah.
But if you can implement that, that's
my
like,
God,
I mean,
could you imagine?
I believe Landon's played on GG before, right? Like it's a pretty nice system. Right?
Yeah, the clocks are nice.
It's fucking amazing.
I just don't think that that's going to be a thing live. And I understand why in something like the main, they don't want to use shot clocks and time clocks and things along those lines.
I'll tell you the biggest reason why I think they don't want to use it. They want it to be the most inviting to recreationals. To just like the normal everyday folk, and you don't want to put time clocks on them in a 10K tournament with 10 million at first.
They're just going to feel like they were somehow quote unquote cheated of having more time to make a decision if they're wrong.
Yeah, just like force. You don't want to put any uncomfortable like.
A lot of people are playing
on them.
And the majority of the people, once they get down to 3 tables, are playing for more money than they might have in the past or in the future have played before.
Yeah.
So it's just like to not be restricted to trying to make these quick decisions is people are not.
Let me give you an idea real quick. Jordan Griff, our chip leader.
That's I was trying to think of.
Hold on. He has 47,000 in tournament earnings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the man might want to take a minute. It's a huge fucking spot, dude.
Yeah. And that's very fair. He should be able to.
It took a minute when he had quads and went all in. That's so fucking sick to just have it at final table.
That's what I was telling Jesse. It's like imagine just being there in that spot, and then the river comes out, and you're just because you have 5s, right? And you're just like, you're worried, right? I mean, I know you have a set, but you're worried.
No, you need to board the pair.
Right? You're like, please pair, but like I hope he doesn't have a bigger set, and then the 5 just rolls off on the river, and you're like. All is right in the world. This is the greatest thing ever.
This is the best tournament ever.
And then he bombs into you. And you're like, oh my God, is this really happening?
Love to see it. Well, on that
epic
note,
gamer moment.
Epic fucking gamer moment. On that note, we are out of here. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us. Landon, thank you for showing up today. My God, never thought we would have seen it.
It's good to be back, man. It's good to be back. I'm here. I know I missed a few days.
What the fuck?
Hey.
Stop acting like you're sick. You got sick pay days. I know,
but I'm good now. I've exhausted them this year.
I've seen
for sure.
I'm sick this week. I'm sick that week.
Listen, man. It's the horseshoe flu. What am I gonna do?
On that note, we are out of here.
Peace.
We'll be back 11 tomorrow. 10:30, 11, something like that.
I won't be here.
Later, squad.
Peace.
It's real tight.